Miss Harelson called the police and reported that someone had broken into her house. When the officers arrived, they found the woman tied up to a chair. She said a man in a black mask had entered her house and tied her up so that she couldn't even move. Then he had stolen all her savings and left. But the officers didn't believe Ms. Harelson and arrested her for misreporting. Why? If the woman couldn't move, how did she manage to call the police? It was Hazley's birthday. Her parents said that they had a present for her, but she had to find it first. To help the girl, they gave her a note that said, "Where should the girl look for her present?" It seems as if the note doesn't make any sense, but that's only because the two halves of each word are switched. If Hazley places them in the correct order, she'll get pretty straightforward instructions. Your present is hidden in the basement. Sydney told her mother that she and her gymnastics team were going to a sports camp for the weekend. Mrs. Stevenson knew her daughter well and suspected it was just an excuse. Sydney was going to spend the weekend with her boyfriend instead. Still, the woman helped Sydney pack and let her go. When the girl returned, she was angry with her mom for forgetting to pack a toothbrush. That was when Mrs. Stevenson realized she had been right, and Sydney hadn't been to the sports camp. How did she figure it out? When she packed Sydney's things, she put the toothbrush in the bag with her gymnastics clothing. If her daughter had indeed been to the sports camp, she'd have opened the bag and found the toothbrush. But she didn't, which means she never used that bag. Look at these people who are doing their grocery shopping. One of them has stolen a watermelon. Can you tell who? It must be this guy on the right. He's holding a soccer ball, but it looks as if it's very heavy. And since soccer balls don't weigh much, it must be a disguised watermelon. Mason went on an expedition to Antarctica. His boss asked him to send pictures as proof that he was actually there. Mason sent pictures every day, but when he returned from the expedition, his boss fired him. Take a closer look at the pictures and try to understand what his boss didn't like. Mason was sent to Antarctica, but in some pictures, you can see palm trees. No wonder the boss realized the photos were photoshopped and Mason hadn't gone there at all. An old man had extremely poor vision. He was living with his son, Mark, because he needed assistance all the time. One day, the man was resting in his armchair while his son was preparing dinner. Suddenly, Mark heard glass shatter. The man ran into the room and saw that the window was broken. He asked what had happened. His father told him that some dark-eyed, dark-haired guy had thrown a stone into the window and shattered it. Then he ran away. But Mark didn't believe his father. Why? The man had extremely poor vision, and he wasn't wearing his glasses at the time of the accident. He couldn't see the guy, let alone the color of his hair and eyes. Savannah went on a business trip with her husband. In the evening, the woman didn't feel well and suddenly blacked out. When Savannah woke up a couple of hours later, she couldn't remember anything. There were two men in front of her, and both claimed to be her husband. The woman couldn't remember which of them was her real husband. Can you help her figure it out? They went to a business meeting. That's why they are both dressed accordingly. The guy in a hoodie doesn't look formal, so her husband must be the other one, the man who's wearing a suit. Now, this girl, Susanna, can't remember who her husband is too. Can you help her? It must be this guy. Look, he's wearing a ring while the other doesn't seem to be married. Ava's parents, John and Catherine, came to the hospital to pick up the teenager. Can you tell which of these young people is their child? It's this girl. John and Catherine are Ava's parents. Ava is a girl's name, and she's the only girl in the room. Esme was having her usual walk in the forest. By nighttime, she realized she had gotten lost again. She was wandering around until she came across the witch's house. The girl petted the cat, greeted the witch, and asked the woman to send her home. At that time, the witch was participating in a math tournament for witches from all over the world. She really wanted to win and to prove she was the smartest witch out there. There was one last task she couldn't solve. The witch promised that if Esme helped her, she'd let her go home. If not, Esme would have to stay with the witch forever. Here's the task. Make 3 identical squares by moving only 3 matches. You just have to move these 3 matches over there. It works, and Esme can return home. Thor asked his friends to guess what his laptop's 3-digit password was. Each of them made a guess. The numbers they chose were 357-902-907-954. Even though no one's guess was right, every person guessed 1 digit correctly and exactly in its right place. Can you figure out Thor's passcode? Since just one of them guessed 1 digit correctly, the first digit can't be 9. In this case, 3 people would have guessed it right, and there wouldn't be enough people to guess the third digit. The only other option for the first digit is 3, which means the second digit can't be 5 and the third one can't be 7. Since the second one can't be 5, then it's 0. 2 people guessed it correctly. And the third digit is 4. If it was 2, it would mean someone guessed 2 digits correctly, 0 and 2. But that's not true. So, Thor's code is 304. Students were divided into 2 teams to do one task. Storm, Dean, and Brooke were in Team Yellow. Elsie, Emma, and Veda were in Team Purple. Following the same logic, what group does Lexi belong to? In Team Yellow, there are students whose names have just 1 syllable. In Team Purple, there are students with the names that consist of 2 syllables. Lexi's names has 2 syllables, so she belongs to Team Purple. Atlas got trapped in the attic of an old house. There are just 3 ways out, and all of them dangerous. Behind the first door, the roof and the floor are made out of magnifying glass, and the sun will burn anyone who comes in. Behind the second door, there's a room filled with poisonous gas, and the third door is hiding a hungry lion. How can Atlas escape? He should wait until it's night. The sun will set, and the guy will safely walk through the first door. Now, take a look at Iris and her close friends, Max, Ginny, Josh, and Ren. Who's her partner? It must be Josh. Look, they have matching tattoos. On a rainy night, Dylan was driving past a bus stop. There were 3 people there: an elderly lady who was feeling unwell, a doctor who saved many lives, and Selena, a girl Dylan had been crushing on for years. Unfortunately, there was only room for 1 more person in the car. What should Dylan do? He should give his car to the doctor, who would take the elderly lady and drive her to the hospital. And Dylan can stay at the bus stop with the girl of his dreams. Charlie, Andy, Taylor, and Alex are all related to each other, but one of them is the opposite gender from the other 3. Here's what you know. Alex is either Charlie's brother or Charlie's only daughter. Alex's sister is either Andy or Taylor. Taylor's only son is either Charlie or Andy. Can you tell who's the opposite gender from the other 3? If Alex is Charlie's only daughter, then Alex cannot have a sister. It means that Alex is Charlie's brother. If Alex's sister is Andy, then Andy's a girl. And according to Fact 3, Charlie is Taylor's only son. But Alex is Charlie's brother. So we have a contradiction here. It means that Alex's sister is Taylor. So Taylor's a girl. Charlie, Alex, and Taylor are siblings. And Andy is Taylor's son. Keenan was watching TV when a detective arrived with a search warrant. The detective said that the city bank had been robbed, and Keenan was the main suspect. The man replied that he hadn't even left the house that day. He couldn't do anything. The police didn't find the money, but still arrested the man. Why? Keenan said he hadn't left the house. But take a look at the calendar and the grocery store receipt. The dates are the same. It means Keenan at least did some grocery shopping and lied about not leaving the house. You ready? Here's another brain-busting workout for you. And off we go. After classes, Margot was studying in the library. At one point, she left for the bathroom. When the girl returned, she found out her wallet was gone. Margot immediately called the police. The librarian said she'd seen some guy, but she had poor eyesight and couldn't remember what he looked like. After listening to her vague description, the police officers questioned 3 students. Owen said he had been studying and hadn't even left his desk until the police arrived. Finn said he'd seen the girl but never really paid attention to her. He was looking for some books. Lucas said he'd been busy talking to his friend on the phone. He hadn't seen anything. Can you figure out who stole the wallet? It was Luca. He said he'd been talking on the phone, but it's prohibited in the library. If he had used his phone, he'd have been immediately kicked out. So he's lying. During a casual walk deep in the forest, Esme got lost. After hours of wandering, she saw a witch's house. Esme asked the elderly woman to show her the way back. The witch refused, but she was in a good mood and offered a deal. She gave Esme 3 apples. 2 of them were poisoned and 1 was okay to eat. The girl had to pick 1 apple and bite into it. If she didn't get poisoned, the witch would show her the way home. Esme was a smart girl and managed to do it. How did she know which apple to pick? In 1 apple, there was a worm, which means it was safe to eat. A student was having an exam and he was about to fail it. The professor decided to give him 1 more chance and asked the last question. It was, "What's my oldest daughter's name?" The student was puzzled. The professor decided the question was too hard and gave the guy a hint. He wrote down 3 numbers, 58, 3, and 11. Can you help the student answer the question? It's a chemistry class. The riddle must be related to the subject. Have a look at the periodic table. The 58th element is cerium, or Ce. The 3rd element is lithium, Li. And the 11th element is sodium, or Na. If you put all of them together, you'll get the name Selena. The professor liked the game. When another student was struggling with his task, he gave him another puzzle. The man said, "I have daughters. All of them, except 2, have dark hair. All of them, except 2, have blonde hair. And all of them, except 2, have red hair. How many daughters do I have?" Can you help the student out? This time, the riddle has nothing to do with chemistry. Pure logic. The professor has 3 daughters. 1 of them has dark hair, the 2nd is blonde, and the 3rd daughter has red hair. Ben was walking in the park at night when someone knocked him out and stole all his stuff. The guy went to the police. 3 people, Cole, Jerry, and Bernard, were in the park at that time. They got arrested. The detective gave each of them a marker and asked them to write their names on the whiteboard. As soon as they finished, he immediately arrested the right person. Who was guilty, and how did the detective find it out? It was Jerry. Ben was hit from the right. It means the person who did it was left-handed. Among the 3 suspects, that's only Jerry. Really? Ben and Jerry? I think I need some ice cream. A member of an expedition to the South Pole found himself in a frozen cave. He didn't remember what had happened, but he knew he had to get out. The man saw 3 doors and a note saying what was behind each of them. Behind the first door, there was a hungry polar bear. Behind the second door, there was a room filled with poisonous gas. And behind the third, there was a room with sharp icicles falling from the ceiling every second. Which door should the man choose to survive? He should pick the first door. He's at the South Pole. There are no polar bears there. After classes, Nora stayed at the university. She needed to finish her project. She was sitting in the hallway. Soon she got hungry. The girl went to grab some food and left all her stuff behind. When Nora returned, she checked her things and called the police. She told them what had happened and reported her wallet stolen. There were 3 other students nearby. All of them were questioned. Kennedy said she had been texting her friends. Ethan said, "I did sit close to Nora for a while, but I didn't see or touch her wallet." Gabriella said she had been in the classroom and just walked out a couple minutes before. The detective listened to them and left without arresting anyone. Why? The detective remembered that Nora had gone to get some food. It means the wallet was with her and couldn't be stolen. The girl lied. 3 women, Sarah, Milla, and Eleanor, went shopping. 2 of them are pregnant, and 1 is a professional watermelon thief. Yeah, I know, but just humor me. Can you tell which one stole the watermelon? It's Milla. She's wearing heels. It's not the kind of shoes pregnant women would wear. Aurora was spending her summer in the countryside. She often took long walks in the forest alone. One day, she saw a huge mansion. It was obvious no one lived there, so she entered the house. It was dusty inside, but still beautiful. Aurora took some pictures and left the place. When the girl came back home, she looked through her photos. She wanted to pick the best ones to post on her social media, but then she saw one of the photos and screamed. Take a careful look at this photo. Can you see what scared her so much? Aurora noticed she, herself, was in the photo. But it's impossible. She was alone in the house. Stella and Adeline were sisters. Their grandmother once presented Adeline a bracelet. But both girls loved this piece of jewelry very much. So sometimes Stella snuck into her sister's room and borrowed the bracelet. One day, Adeline came home and noticed the bracelet was gone. She knocked on her sister's door. Stella opened the door, realized it was her sister, and shut it again. In a couple of minutes, Adeline managed to break into the room. She started searching for the bracelet. Stella told her that this time she hadn't taken Adeline's jewelry. Adeline didn't find anything and had to leave. But on her way out, she remembered something and managed to get her bracelet back. Where was it? When Stella opened the door, she had her hair down. But later, she already had her hair tied up. In those few minutes, she made a bun and hid the bracelet in her hair. On a rainy summer night, Mrs. Miller came home after work. Her neighbor, Mrs. Smith, visited her. The women wanted to have some tea together. Mrs. Smith said her daughter was at a party. She met one of Mrs. Miller's triplet sons there. Mrs. Miller asked which one it was, but her friend didn't know. Her daughter could never tell the guys apart. The problem was all three of them were grounded and weren't allowed to go out until the next week. Mrs. Miller wanted to find out who had broken the rules. She called the boys and asked how they'd spent the day. Ian, the artist, said, "In the evening, I was outside drawing." Ryan, the musician, said, "I spent all day inside writing a new song." Luke, who likes sports, said, "I did a workout and spent the rest of the day reading." Mrs. Miller understood which of her sons was lying and grounded him for another month. Who's the liar, and how did she know? Ian lied. He said he'd been drawing outside, but it was raining. Another day, another walk in the forest, and Esme got lost again. And still, she managed to find the way to the witch's house. This time, the woman had another task for Esme. The witch gave Esme a candy bar and a knife. She was going to perform 7 tricks. After each of them, Esme had to give her 1/7 of the bar. But there was a catch. The knife was magical and could only make 2 cuts. It was also impossible to break the bar or cut it without the knife. How did Esme fulfill these conditions and return home? Esme made 2 cuts, dividing the bar into the following pieces: 1/7, 2/7, and 4/7. After the first trick, she gave the witch the 1/7 piece. After the second one, the girl offered the woman the 2/7 piece and took away the 1/7. After the third trick, she gave the witch the smallest piece back. After the fourth trick, Esme took away the first 2 pieces and gave the woman the 4/7 piece. Then she gave her the smallest piece again. After the sixth trick, the girl took away the 1/7 and gave the witch the 2/7 piece. And after the last trick, she gave the woman the smallest part of the bar again. Bonus question. Hey, if Esme is so smart, how come she keeps getting trapped in the forest? I have no answer. Well, Andy is a singer in a famous band called Lovely Love. Lovely name, isn't it? He has just received fantastic news from his producer. They're going to have an epic tour around the country. So Andy called all his friends and threw a party to celebrate. Can you tell how many people are in the band? And can you also find all the band members among the guests? Although the room is full of musicians, Lovely Love consists of only 3 people. Take a look at this poster on the wall. There's a photo of Andy, Jessica, who's standing over there, and Bill, he's sitting on the couch. In the middle of the party, Andy's fan came over and asked for an autograph. She also asked Andy a question. What was your dream job when you were younger? Instead of giving her the autograph, Andy drew this rebus and said, "If you want to learn this secret, you have to crack my rebus." Ooh, sounds like it could hurt. Can you help the girl? When he was younger, Andy had a dream of becoming a scientist. Jessica saw this rebus and drew her own. Can you guess her dream job? That's right, she wanted to become a firefighter. And Bill coded his dream job in this rebus. Can you crack it? It's a mechanic. Next day, the band members gathered at a rehearsal studio. Can you tell who plays which instrument? Bill has a tattoo with a guitar on his shoulder. But this doesn't prove that he plays this instrument. In fact, he plays the piano. Take a look at this synthesizer. It has Bill's name written on it. Andy plays the guitar. There's a guitar case behind his back. And Jessica plays drums. She has drumsticks in her hair. Some fans sent Jessica flowers. She put them on a table and went to the bathroom to fill a vase with water. One of the guys decided to prank her. He sprinkled dry food coloring on the flowers. When Jessica returned, she put the bouquet in the vase and sniffed the flowers.
Oh, no.
Her face immediately turned purple. Can you tell who's responsible for this prank? Bill or Andy? Andy. There's some purple paint on his sleeve. The guys got hungry and asked their producer, James, to go get some snacks. In the kitchen, James found the ingredients for something really special: chocolate-covered bananas. While cooking, James noticed a jar with pickles and decided to prank the guys. He shoved small sticks into pickles, gave them a nice chocolate bath, and covered them in sprinkles. Then James served the dessert on a tray. Bill was about to take a bite, but Jessica shouted, "Wait, this is a prank!" How did she guess? All the bananas are curved, while the pickles are suspiciously straight. Finally, the guys put all their stuff inside a trailer and hit the road. Soon, they arrived at the first spot, a big music festival. But the guard at the entrance didn't want to let them in. He asked the musicians to solve his riddle. "I am so delicate that just saying my name will cause me to break. What am I?" Can you guess? It's silence. Then 5 volunteers came up to the guys. There were 4 stages at this festival. Each volunteer was responsible for one of the stages. This means one of the volunteers was fake. Ooh. This lady over there. She's a ghost. She's levitating and doesn't cast a shadow. Ooh. The volunteers offered the guys 2 trays with delicious snacks. Can you spot any differences between these trays? Here they are. There was only 1 minute left before the performance. The guys took their instruments and got ready to go to the stage, but suddenly they realized that the door was locked. They were stuck inside the dressing room. Andy found this note next to the door. He didn't waste a second and cracked the code. They made it to the stage on time. What was the code? The wall stands for 3411, and Samson is 543502. Jessica left her stuff in the dressing room. When she returned, she saw that someone had stolen her backpack. The manager called the police and locked the doors. A police officer arrived and detained 3 suspects. The manicurist said that she had been focused on her work. The cleaner said he had been mopping the hallway and hadn't noticed anyone suspicious. And the hairdresser was too busy taking pictures for her Instagram account. Have you guessed who the thief is? The manicurist. Look at the color of her nail polish. The festival manager arranged an after party and invited the guys to join. The dance floor was full of famous musicians. Andy noticed his idol, Stan, and came up to ask for an autograph. Suddenly, Stan fainted in the middle of the room. Someone had poisoned him. The police questioned 3 suspects. Bill said, "I was talking to Kitty. She's a journalist." Kitty said, "Stan and I have been best friends for ages, and I would never hurt him." And Melanie said, "I was eating my dinner when Stan got sick. I didn't see anything suspicious." Can you guess who's lying? Kitty. Take a look at her bag. She has ruined Stan's portrait on the cover of this magazine. If he were really her friend, why would she do that? In the morning, the musicians went to the next city. On the road, they saw a guy with a cart. A minute later, they noticed another one. Bill said, "Wow, these guys are identical." But Andy noticed 2 differences. Jessica, in turn, found 3 differences. Who was right? Jessica. These are the differences between the men. Sometime later, the guys saw a couple of hitchhikers on the side of the road, and in 5 minutes, they saw a similar couple. Andy noticed 1 difference. Bill said there were 2 differences, and Jessica noticed 3 differences. Who was right? Bill. This guy's backpack is different, and the lady's sneakers differ slightly as well. Finally, the band arrived at their next destination. They noticed a beautiful house on the right side of the road. Suddenly, Jessica pointed at the left side of the road. "Look, this house is absolutely the same." But Bill noticed 3 differences. Andy was sure that the houses had 2 differences. Who is right? Andy. Andy was looking around the town's concert hall when someone locked the door. Andy had 3 ways out, but all of them were dangerous. The first passage was so hot it was impossible to get through. The second passage was freezing, literally. The third passage was guarded by a robot vacuum that was reprogrammed to hunt down humans. What passage should Andy choose? The third passage. The robot might start hunting him, but it's just a cleaner robot. What harm can it cause? Jessica wanted to get into the rehearsal studio, but the door was locked. A note on the wall gave Jessica a hint. Jessica was very smart, so she cracked the puzzle very quickly and unlocked the door. What was the code? Multiply the first and the last number, then multiply the second and third. The code is 2516. After giving an epic concert, the guys finally went backstage to eat. The catering service had prepared 2 identical tables full of delicious dishes. Can you spot 4 differences between these 2 tables? Here they are. The guys rented a cozy apartment for one night. Bill was nagging all the way there, which annoyed Andy and Jessica. So they decided to teach Bill a lesson. They dropped the key to his bedroom into a bucket of water. His task was to get the key out without touching the water or using any tools. And still, that night, Bill slept in his bedroom. How did he get the key? He placed the bucket over a fire. Soon the water boiled away and Bill took the key out, hopefully letting it cool first. Ow! In the morning, the guys hit the road again and reached the next city very quickly. The concert manager took them to a rehearsal studio. They saw a crowd of fans near the entrance. Everyone wanted to get an autograph. There were not only humans. Can you spot zombies among these fans? That's right, there are 3 zombies in the crowd. This guy and this lady over there are pretty obvious. But this guy hiding on the tree is also a zombie. Look at his feet. During the performance, it suddenly got very dark. Someone turned off the lights in the entire building. The police questioned the suspects. The cleaning lady said she had been sitting in her office quietly, talking on the phone with her family. The electrician said, "I was in the bathroom on the 3rd floor when it happened." The concert manager said, "This is a huge money loss for me. Why would I do it?" Who is lying? The electrician. Look at the wall. He's indeed on the 3rd floor, but there's a sign on the toilet door. It's closed for renovation for 2 weeks. Andy got lost backstage. He found 4 doors that led out of the concert hall, but all 4 passages looked suspicious. A hungry monster was hiding behind the first door. A fire was burning behind the second door. The 3rd passage was full of poisonous gas. And there was a room without any windows behind the 4th door. Can Andy get out of the concert hall? He can go through the 4th door. There are no windows there, but no one said it didn't have a door. After the last concert, Andy finally got the courage to invite Jessica on a date. She came to his place and they watched a movie. Then they had a long conversation. Jessica told Andy a lot about her past and about her future plans. Andy went to the kitchen to prepare some snacks. When he returned to the living room, he saw 2 identical women. Both of them claimed to be the real Jessica. How did Andy understand who his girlfriend is? He should ask each of them what they've been chatting about earlier.
Henry and Mia lived together in New York. They wanted to run away from big city life and celebrate their anniversary in the wild. So the guys used a special online service and found 3 available options nearby. Bob offered his cozy treehouse in the woods for a reasonable price. Julia offered this fancy geodesic dome with all conveniences. It's a 2-hour drive away from New York. And Crystal offered an old mansion that she'd inherited from her granny. Can you help the guys make the right choice? Take a closer look at the picture of the dome. It's located near the Leaning Tower of Pisa, which means this property is in Italy, and it can't be 2 hours away from New York. And Crystal's granny's ghost is still in the house, so Mia and Henry should choose the treehouse. The guys contacted Bob, booked the house, and hit the road. Mia is a famous blogger, so she decided to post all milestones of their journey in her stories. Can you spot any differences between these 2 pictures? Here they are. What about these 2 pictures? There are 3 differences. What can you say about these 2? Can you see 3 differences? Here they are. While the guys were driving along a highway, someone threw a can of paint into their car. Mia and Henry stopped at the nearest car wash and interviewed 4 other drivers. Bill said, "My truck has to be perfect. I'm going on a date this evening." Jack said, "I'm going to meet my business partner at the airport. I want to leave a good impression." Lily said, "Honestly, I don't need to have my car washed. I just stopped here to visit the restroom." Ryan said, "My boss gave me this coupon so that I could wash my car for free." Who stained Henry and Mia's car? Lily. Her right hand is stained with the paint of the same color, and besides, she has a print of Mia's face on her t-shirt. She's definitely obsessed with her. The guys washed their car and continued on their journey. They had to choose one of these 3 roads to reach their destination. The first one went through toxic swamps. People often get lost in that area. The second path went near a river with creepy sirens. Their singing made everyone jump into the water. And a band of angry robbers was waiting on the 3rd road. Which way should the guys opt for? The second one. They can close all the windows, turn some music on, and drive past the sirens very fast. Mia suggested visiting the farmer's market to buy some fresh produce for their romantic weekend. When they entered the marketplace, 3 sellers offered them apples, but only one deal was safe enough. Can you help the guys make the right choice? Seller number 1 offers very old apples. Take a look at the date on the box. They expired 5 years ago. Seller number 3 offers very beautiful apples. But pay attention to his assistant. She's putting shoe polish on the apples to make them look better. So, Mia and Henry should pick the second seller. Henry and Mia left the market and put all their purchases into the car. Suddenly, Henry realized that he'd left a bag with cabbage at the farmer's stall. He returned but couldn't find the bag. Henry questioned 3 people he saw nearby. Vera said, "I only eat fruit, mister. See, I've got bananas and apples." Bella said, "Yes, I saw your bag. The seller put the cabbage back on the shelf." And the seller said, "I don't know what's going on here. I spent the last 10 minutes in the bathroom." Who's lying? Vera. She hid the cabbage under her elegant hat. Finally, the guys reached their destination. The treehouse is even better than in the photo, but can you spot anything weird in this picture? This raccoon is wearing sunglasses. The owner of the treehouse, Bob, lives in another country, and the house is located 15 miles away from the village and other people. That's why Bob installed a special digital clock on the door. When Henry booked the property, Bob gave him a 6-digit password. But unfortunately, Henry had lost it. Here's a hint. M80. Can you help the guy crack the code? These symbols are mirrored digits. Split them apart and you'll get the code 1133CC. The guys unlocked the door. But as soon as Mia entered the living room, she got very scared. She asked Henry to call the police. Why? The treehouse is in the middle of nowhere. Who lit the candles and the fire? The house was locked. Henry checked all the rooms, but found no clues. What about you? Any ideas who that could be? That roof window is open. Someone crawled inside the house before the guy's arrival, and now that someone is hiding under the bed. See? The guys called the police. Officers promised to arrive within an hour. Mia decided to take a shower. When she returned to the living room, she realized that Henry had disappeared. Mia searched the garden, then checked all the rooms in the house, and returned to the garden again. But she failed to find any clues. Can you help her? The hot tub was open when Mia began her search, but now it's closed. Pretty suspicious. Mia was walking through the garden. Suddenly, a man in a mask popped out of nowhere and pushed her. Mia stepped on a trap and fell into a deep well. She yelled, "Please help me out!" No one answered, but Mia's phone pinged. The masked man offered her to play a game. Otherwise, she'd have to stay in the well forever. Here's the first riddle. I come in many different colors, and I get bigger when I'm full. I will float away if you don't tie me down, and I will make a loud sound if I break. What am I? Mia nailed it immediately. What about you? The correct answer is a balloon. Here's the second question. I can jump and I can climb. With many legs, I swing from tree to tree. I can make a house much bigger than me. What am I? Have you guessed? It's a spider. And the final question. I come out at night without being called. I'm lost in the day without being stolen. What am I? Can you help Mia? The correct answer is a star. A hatch opened at the bottom of the well. Mia went through it and got into a creepy basement. There, she found 3 ways to freedom, but every door hid some danger. A fire-breathing dragon was sleeping behind the first door. The corridor behind the second door was filled with high-voltage wires. And a vampire was waiting behind the third door. Suddenly, a message appeared on the screen of the girl's phone. Hurry up! Soon the walls will close in and smash you. Which way should Mia choose? She should wait until the walls are close enough so that she can scare the vampires away with this stake and go through the third door. When the police arrived at the treehouse, they found Mia and Henry at the porch. Henry had just woken up. The robbers had put sleeping pills in his coffee. The officers searched the area and found some clues. They concluded that the criminals were planning to leave the country by train. Unfortunately, no one knew what they looked like or how big the group was, so they stopped 4 suspicious people at the railway station and examined their baggage. Can you figure out who's innocent? Why would a bald man need shampoo? And this supposedly blind person has a flashlight. This guy is carrying 3 tubes of toothpaste, but no single toothbrush. It seems that only the third guy isn't a criminal. 3 friends lived not far from one another and often met to drink some coffee together. Their names were Mr. Blue, Mr. Red, and Mr. White. One day, they noticed that under their coats, they were wearing t-shirts of different colors: red, blue, and white. Mr. Blue said, "Hey, Mr. White, have you noticed that we're all wearing colors that are different from our actual names?" The man wearing the white shirt answered, "Wow, you're right. Can you figure out the shirt of which color each of them was wearing?" Mr. Blue can only be wearing white or red, but we've already learned that someone else is wearing the white shirt. That means that Mr. Blue can only be wearing the red shirt, and Mr. White can only be wearing a blue or red shirt. And the red shirt is already taken, so Mr. White is wearing the blue shirt. Then Mr. Red is wearing the white shirt. Mia and Henry decided to spend the night in a hotel nearby. The manager said that they only had 3 free rooms. Can you help the guys choose the best option? This room doesn't have any doors. That's weird. And this room has a cracked mirror on the ceiling. It's too risky. The second option looks pretty safe and nice. The guys checked in, and Henry asked Mia, "Well, where do you want to go now?" She answered with this riddle. "You used to visit me when you needed to know, but I've been lonely since the internet was born. What am I?" Have you guessed? The correct answer is a library. In the library, the guys met these 4 students. One of them is broke. Can you guess who? Student number 3. Her uniform is too large for her body. It must have belonged to her sister. Kitty runs a dance show. She arrives in Finland with the 3 best dancers to perform during the Christmas holidays. On the first day of their trip, Kitty was found unconscious in the hotel room. Doctors claim that someone had poisoned her. The police interrogate all the dancers. Kira says, "My colleagues and I left the hotel early in the morning to explore the city, and Kitty stayed in the room for a conference call. I had a date with my online boyfriend, Mikkel." Pam says, "I went to the beach to sunbathe and swim. When I returned, I saw Kitty on the floor." And April says, "I went to the museum alone. Nobody wanted to join me." Who's lying? Pam. It's Christmas Eve, so it's too cold in Finland. She couldn't swim in the sea.
Oh no!
The police arrested Pam, and now Kira and April urgently need to find a new dancer for their show. They look through some profiles online and select these 3 ladies, Deborah, Sally, and Lily. But only one of them isn't fake. Can you guess who? Deborah's profile looks good, but take a closer look at the shadow in her picture. Her head is photoshopped to a different person's body, therefore, she's fake. And according to the 3rd lady's birth date, she hasn't been born yet, so they should choose Sally. April, Kira, and Sally are performing in a music hall, but first, they go to the dressing room to prepare. Suddenly, the local security guard comes in and announces, "Stay where you are! We have to recheck all the luggage! There's a runaway criminal among the actors!" Here's the luggage left by 4 guys who are playing Santas. Can you spot the criminal? Santa never shaves, so the second luggage looks pretty suspicious because it has shaving cream. The remaining 3 Santas open their performance. They look absolutely identical in their costumes. After the show, they go backstage and take off their beards and hats to drink some coffee. This is Carl, Peter, and George. After the break, they put on the costumes again and go to the after party. Can you decide which one of them is Carl? Carl was mixing sugar in his coffee with his left hand. It means that he's left-handed. And this Santa signs an autograph with his left hand. Therefore, he's Carl. After work, Kira and April go to the local parade. Can you help them find a sheep among all these Santas? There it is. What about these reindeers? Can you see any bears among them? Hello? Kira and April enter a shopping mall and face 4 Santas buying gifts for their families. Meanwhile, the mall security guard receives a call from the police. A mysterious thief in a Santa suit has robbed multiple gift shops. They figured out that this mall should be next. The guard asks everybody to stay where they are. Can you help him find the criminal? It's the 3rd Santa. He's hiding a couple of crowbars in his bag. Also, his beard and mustache are different from the other Santas. Kira and April decide to throw a party in the hotel room. April decorates the room and sets up the Christmas tree. Meanwhile, Kira cooks dinner and prepares gifts for 3 people, Thomas, Sally, and Mikkel. The guests arrive and the party begins. At some point, they notice that someone has stolen all the gifts. Kira believes it must be one of the guests, so she questions everyone. Every guest makes 2 statements, 1 truth and 1 lie. Thomas says, "I wasn't in the room when it happened. I know Mikkel stole the gifts." Sally says, "Mikkel stole them. I saw it. I already have enough presents." And finally, Mikkel says, "I didn't steal the gifts." Thomas tells the truth. He wasn't in the room. Who stole the Christmas gifts? If Thomas is the thief, both of his statements would have been false, and if Mikkel is the thief, then all of Thomas's statements would have been true. Therefore, Sally stole the gifts. Frank is staying in a hotel room next to Kira. The day before Christmas Eve, she knocks on his door to borrow some toothpaste. The door is open, and Frank is lying unconscious on the floor. Later that day, doctors figured out that he was poisoned. Kira questions 3 people. All of them are Frank's roommates. Jeff says, Today I've had dinner with my girlfriend. I only saw Frank in the morning, and he was feeling great. Thomas says, we had breakfast with Frank in his room this morning. He was in a great mood. And Ellie says, I've just returned. I had to buy gifts for my family, so I've been shopping all day. Who poisoned Frank? The screensaver is out of date. Frank left a hint with his enemy's name. It was Thomas. Kira, April, Mikkel, and Frank rent a cozy country house to celebrate Christmas. April bakes gingerbread men cookies and leaves them to cool down on the kitchen table. She hasn't applied the frosting yet. So, she asks the others to stay away from the cookies. April goes upstairs to change. In 10 minutes, she returns and sees that someone took a bit off every cookie. April gets furious. She asks the others, what were you doing within the last 10 minutes? Mikkel replies, I was building a snowman outside. I have no idea what was going on in the house. Frank says, I was decorating the Christmas tree with these balls. And Kira replies, I was watching my favorite movie in the bedroom. It was so loud that I didn't hear anything. April already knows who's lying. What about you? Frank is lying. There is no balls on the tree. Santa comes home earlier and finds his elf Bobby on the sofa. He's bewitched by an eternal sleep spell. Santa asks the other elf, Chuck, a question.
What happened here? Only you two were at home.
Chuck replies,
We were packing the gifts and decided to have a lunch break. Suddenly, I heard a loud sound outdoors and ran out to see what was up. I spent about 20 minutes there, and then I returned back home. Bobby was already unconscious.
Santa calls Chuck a liar. Why? Chuck said he spent 20 minutes outdoors, but the coffee cups are still hot. He bewitched Bobby and staged the scene. Kira comes home to her family's house. She's looking forward to eating the walnut cookies she bought at the airport, but she has to eat them outside because her mother is allergic to all types of nuts. After a while, Kira looks inside her bag and sees that all the cookies are gone. Kira suspects her brothers, so she asks, Who ate my cookies? Dylan replies, I was making apple pie with Mom. Paul says, I was decorating the living room. Kevin says,
I was making a sandwich with peanut butter for Mom.
And Ralph says, I was just watching the TV and eating my popcorn. Now Kira knows who took her cookies. What about you? Kevin is lying. They have the same mother, and as we mentioned earlier, she's allergic to all nuts. During the family dinner, Dylan receives an email and begins to cry. Kira asks, What's wrong? Dylan replies, I'm a beginner photographer, and I've sent my best picture to the photo contest. I was expecting to win the first prize, but they disqualified me. Can you figure out why just by looking at this picture? The stars are over the moon. It's impossible. Kira is looking for her mother all over the house, but someone used black magic to turn her into a statue. There's a note nearby. It only has a question mark written with green pencil. Kira decides to question the Green family next door. Zelda says, I was painting in the attic as usual. Oliver says, I was cooking soup for my family. Mark says, I was looking for my missing cat downtown. And Wanda says, I was playing video games in the basement and heard nothing. Who cursed Kira's mom? The clue literally says, question mark green.